Hi, my name is Tyler with Electric Personal Training, and today we're going to take a deep dive into the movement library and creating new movements and everything you can do with movements in Pocket Trainer. So firstly, we'll take a look at our movement library. Now, Pocket Trainer does come with a little over 100 exercises preloaded in for you, but that doesn't cover a lot of more specific exercises or exercises that maybe I'm just not a huge fan of, or I just don't do very often. It really is just kind of a starter list. It's not meant to be a overall comprehensive list. So you're going to run into exercises that are not in the library based off of machines or maybe just things you wanted to try that are a little different. So we can see what we have already in this menu. We can see what comes with the app and everything that's already in there. But if there's something we want to put that's new, we can use the new button. Now, the new button is going to allow us to add those special movements. So it really doesn't matter what it is. You can call it whatever you want. So we're just going to call it our movement. There's a lot to this, and it may seem intimidating at first, but hopefully we can simplify that. So when we're choosing how to make our movement, firstly, we want to think, what is the main muscle we're choosing this for? And this might be multiple muscles. For example, a squat is a great exercise for the glutes and the quads. But typically, personally, I'm going to choose a regular squat more for the quads and something like a lunge that's really just a squat that's shifted a little bit for the glutes, just because one is a little bit more active than the other. And so we're going to choose what that main exercise is. So we're just going to go ahead and choose shoulders, front delts here. That's just going to make it nice and simple. It's the first one I decided. Really doesn't matter. So whatever muscle you are choosing this exercise for, whatever muscle you want to just really target with this is going to be your main muscle. Now, most exercises, it's pretty rare to have a true isolation exercise unless you're doing machines. So we're going to want to add some other muscles so we can factor in their involvement. So let's say maybe this is an overhead press variation. So we're going to be using our triceps. We're going to be using our arms. We're going to use a bit of the triceps, and we are going to be using them as an accessory muscle. So what does that mean? Why am I choosing accessory muscle? Think of this as tiers of involvement. Primary muscle is this muscle is your target muscle. Like I said, you could list the glutes also as a primary muscle on a squat. If you're doing a squat, you could do quads and glutes as your primary muscles here. Just because it says secondary muscle, it just means it's not the main muscle. It's not why we're choosing this. A secondary muscle is a muscle that is involved that you might feel, but would still be able to do more exercises. Think something like your biceps on a pull down. Your biceps are pretty involved in something like a pull down, but you're still going to be able to crank out some bicep curls after. They're not going to be completely smoked like your lats would be. An accessory muscle is typically a muscle that performs its function, but isn't moving a ton of load. So that's why this is great on an overhead press. You could argue it's somewhere between secondary and accessory. It's really not that important to get this perfect, but the tricep isn't our main mover. Most of the motion of an overhead press is coming from the shoulder flexion. We're raising our arms up over our head. Our arms just happen to straighten. That's going to cause the triceps to activate a little bit, but they're not going to be super active, and we're still going to be able to train them pretty well afterwards. We could also do things like bench press, where it's another accessory muscle, and it's not going to be too fatigued. So it's up to you to really decide this. Our last option are stabilizer muscles. This is pretty much reserved for muscles that already don't need direct training. So something like the on an overhead press, a great example of a stabilizing muscle would be the serratus anterior in our core. The serratus anterior pulls our shoulder blades forward and makes it easier for us to press in the scapular plane. So they're going to be a stabilizing muscle. We're not going to destroy our serratus anterior, but you might feel it the next day, and you're not going to need to give it more work to keep it from regressing in its strength because it's going to be active. It's not going to be contributing to the movement, but it's going to be stabilizing at your core. And that's what these stabilizer muscles tend to do. They tend to be more core muscles that are keeping you locked in so that you can perform the movement properly, but not actually performing the movement. Now, our last option here is our pattern. Now, the pattern is completely optional, as it says here. It's going to be used in our workout builder, our advanced builder, which I will cover in another video. So we can choose from this wide array of all these different options. really just choose the one that seems to fit the best. Since we're doing a mock overhead press, front raise / overhead press. And that's it. We now have our movement. We're going to go ahead and save. It'll ask you to confirm. And now if I go into shoulders, I can see our movement. Now let's go ahead and go back to our home screen here and let's log a few workouts with it. So this is going to be workout 1. We'll go ahead and log our movement. There we go. And we can go ahead and click that. Let's say we did 50 pounds for 10 and we did 9, and then we did 40 pounds for 10 and we got stuck there. So this is just example data, just kind of showing what it can do. We're going to go ahead and save that, and it's going to light up our muscles as we specified. So our front delts are toasted, our serratus is green, and our triceps are a little bit worked, but not too much. We'll go back to home, and I'm just going to log another one, but see this as logging 2 separate workouts maybe a week apart. This is just for an example. We're going to go ahead and put in our movement again. We see our previous sets. And now this time, maybe we hit 50 for 10. Difficulty doesn't matter for this purpose, but we got both sets here. So we're going to go ahead and add that to log. And now if I go back to my movement library, let's go find our movement. We can see some stats about our movement. We can see our involvement levels. We can see which muscles are doing what, and we can see some stats. We've done, we've done a few sets, we've done a few reps, our average reps is 10, and we can also see our progress being graphed. And this is a weighted average across your reps. So you can see our first point is at 45. This is going to show you, even if you only go up for one set, you're still going to see this go up because it's a weighted average across the amount of reps you did. So if you all of a sudden go from doing 3 sets all at 40, and then you go to 1 set at 50 and 2 at 40, it's not going to show as just 40. It's going to increase a little bit because your average per rep is going up. So that's what we're seeing here. Now we can get back to our library or delete the movement. If you screw something up and want to get rid of this movement, or you just don't do it anymore, maybe you don't have access to it, you can get rid of it. Or if you just don't like the ones that I use in my original library, go ahead and chop those out. Otherwise, we can go back to the library. And the last thing I want to draw attention to is the Use in Workout Builder button. If you are someone who uses the regular workout builder often, you are going to want to look at this because there might be exercises that you just hate. For example, I'm not a huge fan of front squats personally. I just don't like them. So I don't want them to be in my workout builder. You can just turn that off. And then anytime you use the workout builder in the future, it will not pop up. And you can always change this. You can just click it and unclick it. The only restriction on this, it won't let you uncheck every exercise for a certain muscle. You can't get rid of all the quad exercises. It just won't let you. But other than that, you are free to add and subtract from the list that the workout builder pulls from. And that is all there is to the movement library.